What's going on, guys? How you guys doing today? We're gonna go talk about some 3v3 teams, team ideas, some defenses, some offenses, and also we're gonna talk about some ships. So when I first heard about this being 3v3 for this next GAC season with ships, I'm like, this has got to be like the worst thing ever, because not only is it gonna be 3v3, which not everybody loves to play, but it's also gonna be tying in with some ships, which not everybody loves to play. So it's kind of like almost, I would say, the worst Grand Arena that we will have, because not everybody loves those two things combined. I don't know the exact amount of teams you'll have to set for both ships and the teams, like the characters teams. But I'm gonna go and show you guys around 24 to 25 or 26. I'm not sure what I have counted, but a lot of just different teams for offenses and defenses. So I'm gonna be looking at, because since there's been a lot of stuff that's come in the game since the last 3v3. We've had Luke, we've had the new Vader rework, and we've had this new Chupio. You know, a lot of stuff have been added. And I guess the ships too, the TIE Advance, or the TIE Bomber, I guess, and the Rebel Y-Wing a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's come in the game since the last 3v3, right? So let's go and talk about some, I would say, some really solid offenses. So first things first, you got Vader. Vader's got a new rework. And I bet he can solo some stuff. With relics, if you haven't modded to kill the Rays, that I'm not sure if everybody does have modded that way to kill Rays and Galactic Legends. If you haven't modded for that, I'm sure you can do some huge work for you on the offensive. Soloing stuff, I'm sure, will be something so easy. He gets speed from his unique, and he's already kind of a fast character, so I'm sure he'll go pretty quick. You get off his Merciless Massacre, and you're gonna just go to work, go to town, pretty much. So I'm sure there's going to be some Vader solos out there. If you wanted to toss them with EP, you can as well. But you can see up here, this is another offensive team, right? I got EP, BSF, and Nihilus. That's a great team. And heck, you can even toss it on defenses if you wanted as well. But I kind of feel with Vader, he can probably solo a lot of teams in 3v3. So he's going to be probably a solo character, I would say, for like the most part, right? And then you got this team here, the Thrawn Nihilus, and you got the Shore Trooper. It could be really any other Preton here, but you really want to have those two people, the Thrawn and Nihilus, there, so that you can cycle back to turns very quickly and get early on Annihilate. So this team here can be able to beat and counter Padmes. I've seen it beat a lot of their teams. Usually I would use just the two people, Thrawn and Nihilus, to just counter some, weaker squad. Some team that has low DPS but has a lot of survivability, a lot of protection they have to go through. Just annihilate them and you're good to go. But you want to toss and Shore there if you wanted to counter a Padme team, so that you have an early on pre-taunt, you can eat up a kick, and afterwards you're going to be good to go with, getting the fracture off Anakin and getting the increased cooldowns, and you're going to be fine. So it's a great team for everybody out there, I think. The next one here is Akira and also Nest. This one can probably just be a solo Nest if you wanted to, but you never know. Maybe you want to use Kira. Also, you can use Kira Nest defensively, or, toss in a third there. I mean, you're going to probably want a third for defense, right? You're going to probably want to toss in the tank, L3, Zalbar, a lot of good tanks out there in the game. But usually I would just say this is more offense for the Kira Nest thing. You can counter a lot of different teams with it, for sure. And then we got the Geos. So my Geos are still Gear 12, but these guys can still counter a lot of different stuff. I'm pretty sure I've been able to counter, what has it been, like, I guess, some Jedi teams, like the Bastila teams. You can see right above us, some Night Sisters, Bounty Hunters, a lot of different stuff. You can still counter a lot, and you get some pretty good banners as well. So I think it's a really good defense, or not defensive, offensive team, rather. And then we got the Bastila team here. We got Bastila, Ezra, and Shaak Ti. I like to, either use Shaak Ti here as a third, or, save it for the Shaak clones, right? And also, if you didn't have your Shaak Ti, you couldn't use her because you want to use her there, you can actually just toss in Hermit Yoda, and you're good to go there as well. You don't need to use Shaak Ti here, but it's an option as well. It's a good team. You can counter a lot of different debuff heavy teams out there, and you can get some easy wins. I've used that personally versus Night Sisters in the past, and it's worked pretty well for a lot of the time, and pretty much all times. Let's just say that. And then we got the Jedi. Jedi teams are great, and they give you a lot of high banners as well. The JKR leadership gives you a lot more protection banners back once you attack out of turn, and with the JKR's mark and the Jolie's call to assist, you're going to get a lot of good banners. This can counter a Padme, it can counter a mirror match. It can probably counter, actually, I'm not too sure now with, yeah, it's probably not, it's not going to counter the Rays. You had to usually toss it, gas in there. We're still we're going to get that in a little bit with the gases and the the whole GLs. But for now, the time being, just these three people here, the JKR, Jolie, and GMY, can still beat a lot of different teams. Night Sisters, Grievouses, pretty much everything besides probably the GLs, I'd say. And maybe some Darth Rev and Maleks. And then we got the Padme team. Padme can do very similar stuff to the JKR. But the thing about this one is you won't get as many banners back because you don't have a way to regain your protection, as you guys probably already know that. But I've been able to beat actually some Darth Rev and Maleks with this, other things besides the GLs, and it's been pretty awesome. The only thing I would say is that you don't get high banners. But this is a team here with Padme, Anakin, and GK. You really want to taunt there, and you really want the Anakin for the big damage, and of course Padme for leadership and her unique. So that's that. And then you got the Trey Scion Duo. This is still a great team to counter the bugs in the 3v3 format, and also it has always been that way for 5v5 as well. You can beat bugs, you can beat some bounty hunters, you can toss in the third like a Thrawn or the whole Triumvirate as well. It can beat a lot more stuff than you might think. So this is a great team. It can give you some good banners as well because you can go undersize, or you can sometimes eke out the full protection banners on Scion from his AO, or not his AoE, his special that can give him more protection back. So you can get some good banners there as well, and you can undersize. So that's pretty good. And then we got this team that we talked about earlier, right? Which is the EPBSF Nihilus. So this team has been able to beat a lot of stuff for me, and honestly, I think it's to a point now with where I'm at personally, where I can probably toss these guys on defense. But if you guys don't, and you're not at the spot where I'm at with like all the GLs and the Lukes and all that sort of stuff, you can probably use this on offense. Probably just use the two EP and BSF and just get them in a stun lock state. They take no turns. You get so much TM, and you can just gonna shock them all to death pretty much. The BSF AOE shock. You got the AOE from EP with a stun and shock. A lot of stuff there. But Nihilus, you can toss him in here if you wanted to. But there's gonna be a lot of different uses for Nihilus anyways. So if you don't happen to get around to him, you can always toss in another Sith or Empire. Dooku is a great one. TIE Fighter Pilot's a great one. Of course Vader is, but I would rather use Vader for a solo, right? A lot of different teams there. And then we got the CLS. So you can see here we got the Poe and 3PO. The reasoning behind that, we got to go up here really quickly, is that I'm going to be tossing in my Rey team with Han and Chewie. And the reason here is that I think this is probably the strongest defensive team for Rey, and it might be the strongest team in the game for 3v3 for GAC. The reason being is that you got Han and you got Chewie. They both will get guard for Rey and Han because Chewie's guard gives it to Han and also the other lowest health and protection ally. And in that case, in this scenario, the only other ally here is Rey. So both will get guard. And you got Chewie that's going to protect them with the guard, doing a lot more assists. You can't stun, you can't daze, you can't do much of anything to the guarded allies. And you got Han shoot first. And in the mirror matches with Rey, you can still lose if Han decides to shoot somebody, the wrong person first. And, if you're going to be using the Rey with Hermit Yoda and also Watt, if he shoots somebody else, like I don't know, like maybe a Hermit Yoda first, and you don't get the Hermit Yoda's master's training, you might lose. So this is a great defensive team, and it takes probably a GL, I would say, to kill it, unless you want to take like 4 to 5 different teams, which not everybody wants to do. And that's a strong team, I'd say, on defense. And that's the reason why I would say for the CLS, if I want to break them apart, this is a great team as well, because with this team, it's a TM controlling team. You're going to be using 3PO here with his uniques to give out exposes for the CLS. And then on Poe, if everybody is light side, they lose a lot more protection. But the big thing here, I think, is with the Inspired, he can deal some more damage, which is pretty cool, I think. But usually I'm going to just say it's going to be mostly just to use those more, losing protection pretty much, and just kind of getting a lot more debuffs out on the field so that you just kind of stop them. And it's a good team. I've used it before to counter a lot of different teams actually in the game. It's a great little squad, and that's why you can see up here I got the JTR, BB-8, and the Hero Finn. It's a great team as well. If you wanted to split up, let's just take a second here to talk about the Resistance. If you guys want to split the Resistance, there's a lot of different ways to do it. One way you can see here is just do the JTR split. Another great way is to do OG Finn. Actually, just go into it. Let's go into it. I don't make this video too long, but another great way to do this is to go and bring in your OG Finn, and then you just kind of slap him into leadership, and then you go with the other bros. And this team actually is such a strong defensive team that some people struggle with it versus with their own gases. And I guess JKR's, a lot of different people struggle with this team because of the offensive capabilities from this leadership. It's an incredible leadership even without the Zeta. The offense and defense and potency, of course, is so strong. If you haven't modded, as you were, to mod them in an array team for like a GAC, like 5v5 or TW or whatever, arena even, this is a strong defensive team. And I'd say that's probably a top tier one. I'm not sure why I have that not in there, but it's a great team. I would still recommend it. And if you wanted to go split your JTR, well, you still have BB-8, you still have 3PO. You can use them even on defense or offense. A lot of different ways to use JTR. So that's that. And then we got the Bounty Hunters with, of course, Bosk and the Fets, the 2 Fets. Great team. This can counter some Night Sisters. It can counter, I would say, almost everything. The one thing that I've been using this previously in 3v3 is actually countering a Darth Revan and Malek without BSF. If they do not have BSF and they save them for an offensive team or split on defense, this can kill that team. It really struggles versus BSF with her fears, her CBM, her corrupted battle meditation, and her AoE shock, and that's not good. You don't want to use that versus, you don't want to use this team versus the BSF, but it can handle a non-BSF Darth Revan team, and that's going to give you max banners because of Bosk's leadership. You give yourself so much protection whenever they get the shocks, and I guess rather the fears on themselves and the ferocities. So much things, you get more protection back on. It's a great team. You can counter those teams and counter a lot of different teams in the game. And then we got the Shock T. Not really the Shock T, but the clones, right? And I've been using previously in my 3v3 the clones with Rex lead, Echo in 5s. It can beat a lot of different teams. It's a great defensive team as well. And I kind of, now with Luke in the game, I've been thinking of using Luke probably in a leadership with Luke. I'll just bring it up really quick here. What I'm going to be probably doing with my Luke is actually doing this. And the reason I don't want to talk about this too much is because not everybody's going to have Luke, so I don't want to really talk about it too much. But I would probably honestly do a Luke with Hermit Yoda and maybe even Old Ben, just so I have so much TM capabilities. I don't give him any turns at all. And if I wanted to, I can probably just toss out probably Old Ben and toss in another attacker like a Yoda or maybe a Gas if I wanted to really make it hard on themselves. So much things you can do here. I think it's a great team. And honestly, you can probably just solo somebody with your Luke if you wanted to. Probably could. So that's that. And then let's go into some defensive teams. So this is a defense team I was rocking last GAC, and I would say the Rex team was as well. But this is kind of the start of the defensive team. So this is the Gas, right? And this team I would still place on defense because I still have all the counters to my other teams on my offense side, because I'm not going to be able to beat Kylo's anymore, and I can't really use this versus Rey's. It's not going to work as well versus Rey's. It's kind of always been a scary thing for me because you got to lower the protection a lot, make him go really low, and then you got to go in with your actual team, and that can lose sometimes. So what I want to just do instead is just place this other good team on defense. I know it doesn't have 5s or Rex in it, but it's a strong team. Everybody here is 501st, so you maintain the critical hits rather, and the critical chance. So you, not the critical hits, gosh, the counterattacks rather, and makes it so hard still, and it does pull a very strong team. And you could just save gas for offense like a solo, but I still think that if you are in a spot like me and you're fighting GLs, place them on defense because you're not going to get much use out of them anyways, in my opinion, on offense, personally. So that's that. And then we got the First Order. So you can see up here, I did get my Kylo, right? So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But at the moment, I'm probably going to be sticking with a crew team with OG Kylo and probably going to toss in Sith Trooper here. I think I'm going to toss in him because Sith Trooper does some massive damage, and he can do some AoEs, which can lower their banners, which is a great thing to stop in GAC. So I might actually confirm that. That's what I'll use here, and we'll go back in here to talk about the Kylos in a little bit, the Supreme Leaders. But that's that team. You can really do a lot of stuff with the First Order if you wanted to, a lot of splits if you wanted to. You can even toss in Phasma leadership with the pilots, a Stormtrooper in there. It's going to be a lot of good stuff there as well. And then we got this sexy-ass little defensive team, which is Old Ben with Spirit and Watt. And this team is a strong defensive team, to say the least. You don't really need Watt here. In this team, he does make it a lot harder for the teams or for the people to counter. But if you want to just go about it kind of simply and save Watt for another team on offense or defense, well, you can just toss in Droideka, because with Droideka's unique, if he does not have his damage immunity, he has more evasion, and with this leadership, they already have more evasion. And whenever they do evade, they get more TM. So with all the foresight from Night Sister Spirit, she gets so much turns off. She can stun. She can get you in a nice little loop. And with Droideka here, he's going to be evading a lot until he gets in his damage immunity mode, and then he's going to go off on you with the big damage. And you have Old Ben here with the AoE TMR, offense down in ability block, and also his taunt. It's a very strong defensive team, so I would really recommend this team to everybody. It's been doing me great wonders ever since I started playing 3-3, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. It's been a great team. And then we got the Carve team. The Carve team is not my favorite team, but if it's like a team, or I guess in your strats, and you don't want to like spend too much time on your defense or your offense. You want to kind of lean it out, even it out all the way around. This is a great team for that. I don't love it that much. If you're short on teams, this is probably the team for you. I don't get any holds of this team honestly anymore, but it's a good team if you are lacking more defensive teams for sure. And then we got this Poggle with B1 and B2. Lots of damage here, lots of bonus turns, and lots of AoEs. So this is a good team to lose some banners if they are not as fast. However, a Nest can solo this, so you got to kind of pay attention for the Nest, because Nest can still solo this. You get a lot more counterattacks, and yeah, it's not going to look the best for you, honestly. But it's a good team if you're not going to be seeing that versus a Nest. You can still place that down. You're going to lose some banners on them. That's a good thing. And then we kind of talked about the JTR. So this is more of a defensive team. I have done in the past JTR, BB-8, and a Vet Han, I think. Yeah, Vet Han. And it's been pretty good so far. You saw there I was using the bro. But honestly, you can just toss him in with the OG Finn and the other bros, and you're going to be just fine. Or if you wanted to, this is like one of those teams, right, where you can save him for either offense or on defense. What I did previously was do this one, and it was getting some good holds actually sometimes because of the assists with BB-8's unique. He can call into assist on this Vet Han, and he gets some more staggers, and that can lower their TM, and you get a nice little loop going, and they don't really take any turns, which is pretty good. So that's that. And then we got up here, we got some Darth, Revens, and Malek. So this is still a very, very strong defensive team in the game. You can still set this, and it will pull something, and there's probably a good chance that you might get a hold. This is still like one of the strongest teams for defense in 3v3. It's a force to be reckoned with for sure. You have the AoE Fear, you got another Fear on BSF, you got a CBM, and you have a Malek's Taunt. It's so annoying. It does pull a very, very strong team. And yeah, it's a great one. Just for the record, if you know your opponent has high relic bounty hunters, don't set this Darth Revenant without BSF, because I can still beat that with high banners. So you want to make it as hard as possible with BSF if you can manage to do that. So that's that. And we got the Grievous team here. This is a Grievous team where, I'm rocking T3 because I want to kind of split around my droids. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can just really honestly just go for the standard one with B1 or a B2. Anything really works here. I would not go for BB-8 because in 3v3 he's not going to do much for you, honestly. So you would rather use him for resistance, in my opinion. So that's that team. Grievous is Grievous. AoEs for days. You're going to lose some banners anyways. So that's that. And then we got the Night Sisters. Night Sisters with Talzin, I think is pretty good on defense because a lot more of the Plagues happening. And Plague is kind of a scary thing in 3v3 in my opinion. I've had some losses versus Plagues with the Talzin. So you got to make sure you play it correctly. And of course you have the Zombie and Daka for the revives, more stuns, and just a lot more stuff happening. It's really hard to control. And then, of course, we have the Newt team. So you can see here I'm using Newt, Nest, and Zalbor. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can probably just toss in a Django, any really separatist there. And there's somebody who can control a lot better in a tank, of course, because in 3v3, you got to have some sort of tank, I feel like, with Newt, or else you're going to be exposed too much on the Newt, and he's going to die too quickly. And you don't want him to die. You want to get the extortion off to lose him banners. And that's what you want to kind of shoot for, right? So that's that team. You can really mess with that if you wanted to. And then, of course, we have this Vet team. We kind of talked about the OG Finn with the bros. You can do this as well if you don't have the bros up to snuff. But I'm probably going to go back to what I did earlier with the OG Finn and the OG Finn rather, and the bros. So that's that. And then we got these juicy little teams here. The last teams we'll talk about in today's video. And yeah, I mean, strong teams. These are teams that I feel like are ones that you should really kind of worry about in 3v3 if you were to worry about any teams at all. And the one I would say here the most is the Han and Chewie with Rey. Stupid strong team. It's going to take something really, really strong. And then we got the Kylo. Kylo is a strong team as well, and defensively, and I guess offensively, can solo so many things as well. I'm going to split them probably like this because I want to still save my crew team for defense. And it's going to probably do me some good, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to see. So that's that. And then the last thing I want to talk about here is the ships. Probably the best ships you can probably just toss on defense. If you do have the Y-Wing, I've talked about it before. Or yeah, the Y-Wing, the BTL. If you do have the BTL Y-Wing, guys, and you are not setting this on defense with your Negotiator, you're doing this a huge injustice because it's such a strong defensive team. I have lost so many times versus a Negotiator in a mirror match while I can't talk right now. While the Negotiator has the Y-Wing, the Anakin's ETA, and also Rex's ship. Those three in the starting lineup with the Y-Wing is so strong, and I've lost so many times. So if you have the Y-Wing, please set it on defense because it's such a strong defensive team, and it pulls something very, very strong. So, with that all being said, I'm going to probably hop off here because I went through so many different teams. I want to make this as kind of concise and simple as possible, from offensive teams to defensive temes. I didn't want to go too much in the GLs and also the Lukes because there's not much you can do about those guys if you don't have them. Well, I mean, there's a lot of videos out there already on countering them, but if you see like the Han and Chewie one, you're going to be kind of in for a really hard time. But there's going to be ways to kind of go about this and kind of stop that. And if you were to see some of those teams, the best advice I can give you is to set a stronger defense so they have a much harder time to clear you at all, if you can't even, set a hard defense for them to even clear you at all. And make sure that you get to maximize your banners on offense so you get the most banners and you can have the better chance of winning, honestly. And I've had to do that a lot of times. There's been a lot of times in GAC where you kind of just stall, you can't clear their front, they can't clear yours, and you just go for the max banners versus GLs. And this is the reason why this game mode is the worst, because of 3v3 in GLs. They make it some of the worst game experience I've ever played in my life. But I'm trying to, help you guys out here with your best offensive and defensive teams. So hopefully I've helped you a little bit. If you guys want me to do some more videos about 3v3 and just GAC in general, you guys gotta let me know down below in the comments. Any video ideas, you guys gotta hit me up with them. And with that all being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it around, and sub to the channel if you guys are new here. We got a Discord and a Patreon all down below in the description. Thanks for watching it again, guys. Until next time, I will see you all later. Peace out.